Cool. So visibility. You had an interesting take on visibility, and I think we have two, I think, very not different views, but I think the messages that we want to bring across
Yeah.
is very different. So, yeah, if someone listens today that wants to know more about visibility from Heidi Cole, what would that be? What would your message be?
So I can certainly speak for anybody in the back of the cabin. I'm sure it will be the same at the front as well. But I feel like, we can be an amazing candidate. We might think, oh, wow, I'll be an amazing fit for a particular role. But it doesn't help if we remain the world's best kept secret. And if we aren't visible, nobody can find us. And it used to be that it was always word of mouth, but now with technology being as it is, it gives us an amazing opportunity to get in front of more people than would have ever happened in the past. But it means that we actually have to be visible. We have to put ourselves out there. And that's what's really important about visibility. There's never been so many opportunities, so many options, so many job recruitments these days. But equally, we have to be visible so that we can be in the running for these things, so that somebody can either reach out to us or that
Yeah,
we can then reach out to them. So
of
yeah, it's
course.
really
So it's a
important.
two-way street, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, much so. How do you
The
see it
thing
from your
is,
side?
the thing is for me, we can talk about visibility and say, one of the most irritating things I find some days is someone says, "Oh, you have to do this and this and this," or let me rephrase that. You have to do this so that that can happen, but they never tell you how to do it, right? They just tell you have to do it, but how? Because
Mhm.
we all know we have to be visible, but how do we become visible? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question we should ask yourself or ask ourselves, what is visibility? I think I think if we understand that, then the rest will fall into place. So if I have to speak from Avixu's point of view, if I say, listen, we can help you with visibility, what does that actually mean? Okay. Does it mean that I will take your resume and I will show you to 10,000 people? Because that's not visibility. Yes, 10,000 people see your resume, but only one or five people are really interested in your resume. So my goal is to not clutter or send your resume to 20,000 inboxes. I would rather send your resume to the five people that really they are interested in you, and that's visibility, because now you really get the calls that you want. Okay.
Mhm.
um so yeah, visibility is not just like my LinkedIn is growing steadily now. I think yours as well.
Mm.
My question is, if I get to 1 million people, will anything change? Probably yes, because out of the million, I'm sure there will be 10,000 people who relate. But what if I can get just that 10,000 people on my profile? I mean,
Oh,
then
I
it's
think
the
that's
exact same, it's the
yeah,
exact same outcome, right? With a
yeah, and
smaller account.
I mean, this is a great point to raise, because actually it's not necessarily quantity of people that we're
Mm,
being visible to, it's the quality.
yeah.
So, for example, if we're trying to appeal to everybody on our social media or our, on our CV, for example, it kind of dilutes who we are. It's just like we're kind of this like blend of, we're not really sure who this person is and what it is that stands out about them.
Mm,
And I think that's really important in visibility as well, because if we, like you say, it's almost like what I say, carpet bombing. We just like throw it out to everybody, and it doesn't matter
yes.
what it is, or we're like, yeah, it's just a job at the end of the day. But then
Mm,
it's never going to be personalized to what we're really looking for, that's going to make us thrive and for us to really bring our best to the role at the same time. And I think that's really important, that it's always got to be what we are being visible with is also quality that really speaks into who we are, what our our strongest assets are that we can bring to the role. What is it that we are most aligned with, so that we can show up at our best? Like, for example, it's not so much in my CV, but I'll talk about my strengths on my CV, but I don't talk about my weaknesses, but
No.
if I get an interview, if anybody asks me, I certainly do. And I'm very honest about them because I want to make sure that if they say to me, hey, you've got to, organize all of the drawers and cupboards from scratch, or you have to cook from scratch constantly, I'd have to own up and say, hey, you know what? I'm knockout down the back with the service, but those things you just mentioned, I'm absolutely rubbish at. So I wouldn't be the best fit if that's the highest priority. So I feel like even though we don't have to list our weaknesses, even just being aware of what our strengths are will not only have us as a stronger candidate, but also really make sure that we will end up attracting the best role at the same time. Because it's not just putting ourselves out there, it's also, we want to attract the right role at the same time. And when those two meet, it's like a sort of match in heaven, so to speak. Or I certainly think. Visibility gives us the opportunity to be in front of more people, but what we present needs to reflect us in the best way, to give us, help us put our best foot forward, not just be, oh, here's some generic thing that's, it's because people have questions, we're always like, well, it ticks all the boxes, but what is this person really like? And what's their unique edge? What are they really good at? What's, and then if they're not sure, it's like, okay. And they keep looking until something kind of hits them.
Yes.
I think that's important in visibility as well.
I know you are doing CVs, right? You are building people's CVs and redo them. But here's a question, okay? And I know this is all unprepared. Huh? I like this because as we said, I think about questions. Anyway, so let's go. I don't know how I want to tie it in or how I want to maybe frame the question, but let's look at Avixu and let's look at resumes, okay? The second you have a profile with Avixu, okay, we create a resume for you and it's more a digital resume. So it's nothing like what your normal resume would look like. It's a complete digital resume. So my question is, I don't even know how I want to ask it, but do you think 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line with tech nowadays, do you think we will still need to write resumes and have our own resumes? The reason I'm asking it, and I might be completely wrong, the resume, the reason people spend a lot of time with resumes and making it as pretty as possible, it's so that they stand out. But why do they stand out? Is so that people want to read what's on it. Okay, because that's a first impression. I think the other day we spoke about first impressions. So that's the first impression that they get from the candidate. If the CV looks like your grandmother wrote it in 1955 versus Heidi Cole wrote it in 2025, they're probably going to read your resume first. Okay, but when you look at Avixu's philosophy, we say that on a CV is we want to only see the things that really, what's going to make me invite you for the interview. Okay, things that is important is like where are you based, what passports you have, what visas do you have, what nationality, all these type of things is what the recruiter needs to know. You can have the best looking resume, but if you don't have the credentials, then you're anyway not going to get the call. So I think what I'm trying to say is once, okay, let me tell you a story rather, what happened. And I did a post on it on my LinkedIn as well. Last week, there was a recruiter. They phoned me. They said, we need a pilot with these requirements. Okay. I went onto the app. I couldn't find it. So I put a job ad out. Within 3 days, I got like 800 CVs, probably over 1,000 now. The company kept pushing me to say, I just need the right guy. How am I working through 800 resumes? How do you do that? So what I ended up doing is I open up a resume. I just scan what I think. Like I'm really looking for keywords. Okay, I don't read the whole thing. Then I would send them who I think will work.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I came across a resume that I thought, shit, this is the one. If this is the one that will fit the position. The second I called them, or when I called them and said, I have a new resume, oh, we already went with someone else. Okay. So this guy just missed out. Not because he didn't apply, it's because he applied too late, or his CV got lost in between a pile of CVs. And to me, that's where I'm trying to fix the visibility part of the crew. Okay. In terms of do they meet the requirements? Yes. I will show you to the recruiter. If you don't meet the requirements, I'm not wasting the recruiter's time, and I'm also not wasting your time. But now my question is, how would a written resume look like comparing to tech? I guess that's my question. What would written do versus tech?
I'm just guessing this from what I know, from everything I know so far. But I would say that we're quite lucky as cabin crew down the back, because we don't have to demonstrate certain types, or, we can kind of float between aircrafts within reason. We can work on various aircrafts within reason. And as long as we have our safety, as long as we know what we're doing, what we're dealing with, we have a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
And I think my prediction is that resumes will always be needed in some way, shape, or form, because it's just a snapshot of, does this person fit or not?
Yeah.
So certainly for pilots, I think with all the type ratings, that is vital. So there's I think it's a lot more nuanced and a lot more specific. But I think for down the back, a big part of what we do is how we present ourselves, how we present what we do in the cabin. It's like that sort of level of, to some degree, sort of artistry, creativity.
Yeah.
And I feel like our resume is kind of like a thumbprint. It's like a signature. So that when somebody receives it, it's like, is it all crammed full? Is it, the colors? Everything gives a first impression. So if it's really elegant, streamlined, you see some kind of elegant words in there, nothing too baffling, but just something that, you understand the level of requirements, you understand the role, because it's clearly mapped out in your words, for example. And then if the aesthetics look good, and I don't necessarily mean pretty, but sort of, does it have open space? And they're like, I can breathe. I can see that things are structured in an easy way to find the information I'm looking for, rather than having to dig through all of these big paragraphs just to get one key thing from there. We're going to, to me, it's like it should be, this is very different for pilots for sure. But for down the back, it's, let's not overwhelm someone with a 5-course meal. Let's just give them delicious, the most finest canapes that are easy to digest. And it's like, and then it leaves them wanting more the next course, which is then hopefully reaching out to want to connect with us, where they're like, oh, this person presents themselves well. They've structured it beautifully. So therefore, they're likely to structure their service really well. The cabin ambiance, how it sets up. So that's what I think. It's still our thumbprint, our signature, that gives them that first impression. Because again, we could be a perfect candidate, but if we don't articulate all of these things and then the aesthetics, it could give somebody the impression that, wow, there's tons of words on here, so maybe they babble and they aren't articulate with their words, so that will feel overwhelming for the client. Or maybe they're not even sure about what is important, so maybe they're not sure about the role, and then all of these things are going on unconsciously, and then they're like, not sure about this, and they see something that's well presented that might not be the best fit, but it feels easy and open to connect with, to read through. So I still think, certainly for corporate flight attendants, it's very much our signature. It's a part of that package. But that's in my humble opinion.
I think, and what I like about what you just said is we have two, not different takes, two different, what's the word here, areas Like
Mm,
I focus on do you meet the requirements? Yes or no?
mm,
Simple. If you make it,
mm,
talk to them. If you don't make
mhm,
it, we don't overwhelm them. Okay. So the next question I guess I should ask is, can we merge the two? And I think the answer is yes,
mm,
right?
mhm.
The
Yeah.
initial search should be tick, tick, tick. Do you
Yes.
match? Yes, there's 20 matches.
Mhm.
Now, out of the 20, we want to see personality come through. And
Yeah.
that's where you can maybe have a portfolio or resume
Mm,
or things that the other candidates might not have. So then you
mhm.
start working on your personal brand again. Like we said,
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
our previous one was personal branding.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe where we should focus on next is how do we bring tech and the personal touch together? Because,
Mm,
like you said, you can't neglect the fact that everybody is different,
mhm,
everybody has a unique skill set, everybody has, but how do you bring it together? Tech won't
mhm.
do it. You still need, yeah. So I think that's cool. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do it. It will be done.
Yeah, and I think it will be driven by the needs of clients and where they start to search, where they start to look, their connections, their networks. And if they find, say, like a site like, say like a Vixu, once they know it and
Mm,
realize, oh, this is pretty easy to be able to search through candidates. Because
yeah,
ultimately, I think when people send out a resume that has so much information, it's actually tiring for somebody. I remember when I was recruiting for a large aircraft,
mm,
um, I had to go through 1,000 CVs and it was exhausting. But I was
exactly.
just looking for those rare gems. But if somebody hasn't structured it in a way that's easy, it's I was like, wow, I'm so tired going through this. And then I'm trying to piece together, well, what do they mean by that? And does
Mm,
that mean
mm.
that, and then it's like weird when somebody lists everything and I'm thinking, nobody's good at everything. I know I'm not,
No,
right?
no, no.
So, and then you're like, okay. So it's about sort of getting that balance right of authenticity, but also presentation. But equally, I think if somebody isn't great at writing CVs, there's no real need
Mm,
to have somebody do it. But for example, your site provides a great platform that if their CV isn't that great, you are able to pull out the gems that people
yeah,
do look for in that digital format.
yeah,
And then that seems good, great, they're kind of through the door. And then
yeah.
if they get an interview, that's where we can show up with our personality, our
Of course.
authenticity, our confidence, our energy, our knowledge of, yes, I can do the job, I'm
Yeah.
capable, and I want to do it, sort of thing.
Do you still
Yeah.
recruit for companies?
Mm, yeah.
No, I think you broke up there. The question is, do you still recruit for companies? Sometimes.
So now and again, if somebody reaches out,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where, again, it's certainly for cabin crew, there's a lot
Mm,
based on personality because it's a very human to human role. It's a real kind of, um, it's a very delicate microclimate in the cabin. We could be the best in the world at our job, but if the personality doesn't feel right to be around, that
mm,
client is just going to be like, hey, this is my home space, I don't feel comfortable with this person here. They might not even
mm.
know why, but it's just like it doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's that's a very important part of
yeah,
making sure we can communicate that as well and sort
yeah,
of show up in the right way. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I think not the last thing, but probably from my side, the last thing I would say is to be visible doesn't mean subscribe to Avixu or be part of Heidi Cole's group.
Mm,
There's action to it all.
mhm,
You can't just subscribe to my platform and think, okay, I subscribed, I paid even the subscription, and
mm,
think that it's all done. It
mm,
No platform will offer you that. Okay, and I'm sure your services won't offer that either.
mm,
So you have to use everything that you have. Okay. So subscribe to our Vixu, fill in your profile. Okay. Why? Because that gives us the opportunity to put you in front of as many recruitment agencies possible that's right for you. Okay.
Mm.
Be part of Heidi Call. Why? Because she has a network that she can plug you back in. Well, she can plug you into. Okay. Be part of. I will never advocate for a WhatsApp group in my life. So I'll never say be part of a WhatsApp group. That's absolute shit.
Mm.
But be part of communities, okay?
Yeah.
Whether it is my community, your community, or any, but be part of as many communities as possible, because you have to be visible. And visibility isn't just in the background. Be present, be there, participate, share information, be helpful. People will always gravitate towards the people that help other people.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great point. I think when we're part of a community, it's not a one-way street. You know, if
Yeah.
somebody's in there and needs help or needs some advice, and you have something that could help them, then, you know, share it. And that's the thing. It's like then that reveals our values, you know, our personality. And then people are like, oh, who's this person? Oh, and they're really helpful. And
Yeah.
you know, that also helps that if we're looking for a job, like, oh yeah, I remember that person was super helpful in the group when they had nothing to gain, nothing to try and prove. And it's in those moments that reveals our real kind of character. And honestly, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that everything that is in groups is potentially public. So, you know, I also say the converse is really important when we're visible, to be aware of what we're saying, and don't badmouth people. You know, nobody wants somebody that brings drama on board. So if you bring it to a group, you could be the best.
You're going to be the one that
be.
everybody will remember you as the one that's causing drama.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
Yeah,
It's what it is.
Yeah.